Mooooooood Radio.com. Hosted by Martini Morning. Hey, hey. Mooooooood Radio.com.
Mornings. Welcome aboard to a fabulous news segment, and we're going to be chatting with people from all over the world, and we're going to be crossing over to our fabulous UK correspondent Emily. She is, of course, from downtown Dungog in New South Wales. It is beautiful in Dungog this morning, beautiful crisp air, a bit of frost on the ground, and Emily is over in the UK now. Good morning to you, Emily.
Good morning, or good evening, I should say.
Good evening. Now, tell us about the heat wave you're going through, Emily.
Well, I would refer to it as summer, but here in the UK, obviously our summers aren't very predictable, and we get a lot of inclement weather even in the summer. So the past week or so we've had temperatures hitting sort of 28, 29, and it's been classed as a heat wave.
Fabulous. So how are you coping in this 28-degree heat wave?
Well, you know, it's not too bad compared to the 45, 46 temperatures I used to experience as a child in Dungog when I was walking home from school every day. The 3-kilometre trek,
yes, yeah.
Dodging the brown snakes. So yeah, 28, 29 is quite okay for me. I can cope with that.
Yes, yeah. So how are other people coping in the UK with this heat wave?
Well, they just complain quite a lot, but it's generally they complain in any kind of weather. It's sort of everyone's topic of conversation, really. The weather, it always comes back round to how wet it is, or how humid it is, or how hot it is. So yeah, they whinge when it rains, and they whinge when it's hot.
Look, there's, you know, that's a common thing amongst us humans, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
We're complaining of just about how cold it is here.
Yeah.
You know, I think we woke up and it was just 15 degrees. So,
gosh,
you know, I've
terrible.
got my slippers on as we speak, Emily.
So have I, actually. My UGG slippers.
The last time we chatted to you, we were talking about, it was your winter, and we were talking about how you have had the kids home from school, there was lockdown, there was, you know, quite a bit of, I guess, reorganisation of your life from lots of points of view. From your work, you work in a family business, the kiddies, as I said, were home from school, and you guys were in lockdown, and you're in lockdown for a long time. And how, but the numbers kept creeping up, even though you've been rolling out the vaccination amazingly well. Well, from our perspective, I think about 3 people in Australia are vaccinated fully, and that's the Prime Minister and the Assistant Prime Minister. But but you know, in comparison, even though you've got a much larger population, your vaccination rollout has come, but people are still quite sick, Emily.
Yes, people are still getting sick. I mean, I know that the death rate is going down, and people aren't getting as seriously ill as they were previously. So admissions to intensive care units are down. Transmission is down. but infection rates are at the moment on the rise, which I think is inevitable because we've had obviously Freedom Day, everything's been sort of relaxed. We've had the Euro 2020 football or soccer. So, you know, there's been a lot of sort of big events that have sort of resumed. So inevitably there's going to be that infection rate rising. There's been a rise in the NHS track and trace app, which pings and tells you if you've been in contact with or near someone who's tested positive. And there's a whole saga around that at the moment. We've noticed a lot of the shelves in the shops are sort of empty. Bin collections are being missed. Some businesses, sort of chain, you know, franchise businesses are having to close their doors because they just haven't got the staff because of the amount of people that have been told to self-isolate from the app. So I have
describing an apocalyptic movie to me,
yes,
to be honest.
Yeah.
I think your weather of 28 degrees is nothing compared to your other.
Oh, yeah, it's nothing. That's not really the main issue, but obviously people talk about that more generally. But yeah, I've even heard that they're telling sort of essential workers such as lorry drivers, nurses, people like this to delete the NHS track and trace app so that they are not being affected by this pinging, they call it, telling them to isolate, because deliveries aren't being made to shops. You know, like I said, shop shelves are looking empty because the drivers, obviously lorry drivers, you know, they drive great distance, they come in contact with a lot of people. Being told to self-isolate, the haulage companies can't fulfill their deliveries. So they're being advised now to just delete that app altogether. So they can't be.
They unfortunately are, you know, essential workers who are amongst the public. They are the spreaders, you know, in a lot of cases. So
they're the ones traveling around, you know, but they're now being told, you know, they've changed it from pandemic to pingdemic. Because of the people that have, so many people being pinged by the app saying, oh, you've been in contact. Some people I've spoken to have been pinged and said, oh, you've been in contact, you need to isolate for 2 days.
Yes.
Because the app has realised they were in contact with someone 8 days ago. So for those 8 days, they've been allowed 3. The app's only just clicked on, oh, wait, you need to isolate for 2 days now. So what's the point?
What is,
you know, they've been out and about for 8 days spreading these potential germs.
Wow. So is it, I mean, there's one thing where they're, you know, telling people to isolate, but there's another thing where I guess there's a bit of social control in there where people are scared to go out and actually, because they can't afford, you know, financially afford, as you say, or businesses or industry can't afford for it to happen. So it makes the rest of the public want to stay at home, not be pinged. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
we were going to chat with you a couple of weeks ago, but you got sick. What happened?
Yes, I did. So it was the 5th of July. It was just a normal Monday morning. I'd got myself and my children up, ready for school and nursery, took them to their respective settings, went to work myself, and I kept going sort of hot and cold. I felt like my head was really warm. I didn't feel, you know, that my body was, just my head. So I told my sister-in-law at work, I said, I keep going really hot. And she looked at me and she said, you look a bit red. She said, you got a temperature? And I said, oh, I don't know. And she said, oh, I've got one of these like lateral flow tests here, the instant result ones. She said, why don't you do it? So I was like, okay.
Tell us about this, because we don't know about these things in Australia.
Okay, so we have lateral flow tests, which you can get from any pharmacy. And basically it comes with a little swab and a little ampoule of fluid, and you just swab yourself, put it in the thing, mix it around, and then you drop it onto like a little plastic thing that looks a bit like a pregnancy test.
Yes.
And then it comes up with 1 line if you're negative, 2 lines if you're positive, similar again to a pregnancy test. Sorry, I've got a little friend here who's joining in. So it came back anyway, it's 2 lines, and she said, oh, it's positive. So I was like, oh, great.
Yes, yeah.
So anyway, my husband just happened to come back to the office at that point, and she said, here, you do one as well. She did one for him. His also was positive. So of course we had to go straight home. The children had to be brought home from school. Obviously we couldn't go. We had to get my mother-in-law to go and fetch them. We then booked for a drive-through PCR test, which is the proper official sort of test that gets sent off. Booked for one of those the same afternoon, came home, and we got the notification early next morning that we were both positive for COVID.
Wow.
So I,
kids,
at this point,
tested?
Sorry?
Did you get the kids tested? What do you do with the kids?
No, because the children didn't show any symptoms.
Oh, okay.
So you don't, the guidelines here are you don't need to test them unless they show symptoms.
Yes.
So even if, so for example, if I'd had symptoms and my husband didn't, he wouldn't officially have to have a test, but he would still have to isolate in the household with me.
So both of you are positive for COVID.
Yes.
And you're quite how was your husband at this stage? Was he
so at this point we were both kind of not too bad. I still felt kind of hot, feverish. He felt a bit hot, feverish, and he had diarrhea.
Right.
So we obviously came home on the Tuesday. I just then from that point, probably Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, was just in bed. I was very tired. I had no energy, no appetite. I got a bit of a snotty nose, but no cough, no difficulty in breathing. My husband, again, was sort of feverish, lack of energy, that sort of thing. He, after sort of 2-3 days, started to improve and feel better. But I unfortunately didn't. I just got worse and worse. And then towards the weekend, I developed a cough, which at rest, I didn't cough at all. I could lie in bed or sit in bed and be fine. But our toilet is downstairs. So every time I came down to go to the toilet, I would start coughing and I just could not stop coughing.
Wow.
So it was just a dry cough. And it just consumed me, and I would cough to the point where I was sick because it was just so much coughing, but there was nothing to bring up because I wasn't eating. I then started bringing up some like really dark sort of sputum.
Wow.
After sort of 3-4 days, the only way I can describe it is it felt like I was drowning in fresh air. That's the only sort of way. I mean, I've never drowned, but that's what I imagine that drowning feels like. So on the Saturday, my husband phoned the NHS out of hours sort of advice line, and they spoke to me and they realised I was quite breathless. So they sent a paramedic car to come and assess me, but it was like non-emergency. So he took sort of 3-4 hours to arrive. And by this time I'd kind of calmed down and I'd gone back to sleep. So my breathing was much better. So he came and checked me over and he said, oh, your oxygen levels are fine, your blood pressure's fine, blah, blah, blah. And off he went.
Is he dressed up like a spaceman? Because, I mean, obviously he's coming into an infectious household. So
so I expected that he would be, but he was gowned. He had like a plastic gown on. He had gloves on and he had a surgical mask on.
Is that all?
Yeah, he didn't really come that close to me. Obviously, he had to put the cuff on me for the blood pressure and things like that. But he kind of stood like at the end of my bed. He didn't come. So he kind of as far away as he could, sort of thing. Anyway, so off he went. And then on the Monday, again, I was quite sorry. That was Saturday. Sunday, I was quite bad. Monday, my husband phoned the NHS advice line again. They this time sent an emergency ambulance, so they were here really quickly. Wow. This was a crude ambulance with three ladies on. They assessed me and they said, well, you're kind of right on the cusp of whether we take you into hospital or not because your oxygen isn't good. sort of, what do you want to do? They said, we can try and contact your GP and get them to prescribe you something to see if that will help. So they did that whilst they were here. My GP prescribed some steroids and antibiotics for me, which my friend went and collected and brought round. So we started taking that. I had a really bad night on the Monday night. I almost felt scared to go to sleep.
Oh my goodness.
Because of how quickly my breathing would deteriorate when I was having one of these episodes.
Yes.
So I woke up Tuesday morning and I thought, well, I need the toilet now and I just know what's going to happen.
Right.
So got up, and by this point my husband was physically helping me down the stairs every time I needed the toilet.
How would the, in this craziness of you being so unwell, are the kids showing symptoms at this stage?
Not at all.
No.
So I was obviously I wasn't doing a great deal for them because I couldn't, I was kind of in bed, but I was checking them constantly, like checking their temperature, feeling them, are they hot, are they okay? And they were perfectly fine, didn't show any symptoms. So perhaps they did have it, but they showed no symptoms whatsoever. So
and your husband was positive for it as well. So
so he, like I say, positive.
You struggling, what's going on with him physically?
So he sort of, like I say, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, he was feverish, he felt really weak, but that was it. And then he just kind of recovered. He was like vacuuming, he mowed the lawn, he washed the car, and I couldn't even walk to the toilet without keeling over, like physically on the bathroom floor, coughing and bringing up all this stuff in the bath, like it was just horrendous. So going back to the Tuesday morning, he brought me down, I went to the toilet, and I just thought, I know what's going to happen. And I had this coughing fit, and I just looked at him and I said, you need to phone 999. So he did. Emergency ambulance came. They sat me, I was already kind of sitting on the sofa when they came. I was kind of hyperventilating at this point because I found I couldn't take deep breaths. If I tried to take any kind of deep breath in, it would catch in my throat and I'd start coughing. So I had to take really shallow breaths.
Yes.
So I was having what he called bronchial spasms. So my breathing was like this. Once that calmed down, he then put me on oxygen. And on 2 litres of oxygen, my oxygen saturation was 84%.
Wow. 80%.
And that's on 2 litres of air.
You need 98%. I'm no doctor, but I'm pretty sure you need 98%. So you're really struggling.
Yes. And that was with oxygen on my face. I was still only at 84.
When you're with oxygen, oh my goodness.
Yes.
So,
and
this is what we hear. It doesn't matter how much oxygen you get. It's the fact that your lungs can't.
They can't absorb it. So then he was a paramedic on his own again. So he called through for another crew to come and take me in. And those guys, because they were taking me in their vehicle, they came with all the these masks with like a hose coming out the back that went onto like a ventilator thing on their belts. They were all gouged, masked. They looked like the people out of E.T.
I was just thinking that. Yes.
That's what it was like. The only thing I didn't have was the big tube coming out of my front door.
Oh, that's disappointing.
I know. You would have thought they'd have brought that, but yeah. So I just basically, they sort of calmed me down, got my oxygen on, kept me on the oxygen, put me outside, obviously, went on to the stretcher, and they wheeled me onto the ambulance, and then they blue lighted me into hospital. Not because I was that ill, but because they don't want to be in that confined space with you for a long period, like stuck in traffic. Okay. So for that reason, they blue lighted me in, and I was admitted onto the COVID ward. And I stayed in for 2 nights.
Oh my goodness, what a horrific experience. So where are the kids while sort of the space suited paramedics are coming in and removing a very unwell mum? What's going on?
So they were just upstairs, and then obviously before I left, they came down to say bye-bye, and then as they kind of wheeled me out, I looked up to the bedroom window, and my little 7-year-old was like waving out the window to me, and I'm there with the oxygen being pushed onto the ambulance. So that was a bit heart-wrenching. Yeah, so she was quite upset. I think my 3-year-old, you know, she's happy as long as she's got YouTube, so whether mummy's there or not is kind of irrelevant until she wants feeding generally. So
thank God
yeah,
for YouTube. And
I know, the electronic babysitter.
So here you are, you're then taken off to the COVID ward, which virtually sounds like a leper clinic, to be honest. You've got all the people all bound up, and you're kind of offloaded into there. I mean, what was the atmosphere like going into the ward in hospital?
Oh, you know, just a barrel of laughs. It was no, it was very surreal to be there, because it's something that you hear about on the news, you know, and to go in there, like initially you put onto respiratory assessment unit, where you're not allowed to leave your bed. Even if you're able, you're not allowed to get up and go to the toilet. You had to use a commode at the side of your bed because obviously of moving around the area and spreading your COVID around. So so you were sort of confined to that space, and then you'd be assessed. Consultant came around, assessed me, looked at all my notes and doctor's notes and things, and then they admitted me onto the actual ward. So it was like a 4-bed ward. And I was there. I can remember actually on the first night I was sort of setting myself up, getting my pajamas and things, and I sneezed. Yes. And one of the male healthcare assistants was there, and he looked at me and he went, "Oh, it's not COVID, is it?" Because that's the thing at the moment. You're in any shop, anywhere. Yeah. If you cough or sneeze, someone looks at you and go, "Is it COVID?" Yeah. So there you go. Looks at me, "Is it COVID?" And I'm like, "Actually, yes, for the first time, it is." And then one of the other nurses came in. He went, "Watch her over there. She's just sneezed, and we think it's COVID." So you know, there is still that kind of bit of, you know, humour, if you like. Yeah, because I wasn't obviously on the intensive care. It's people there are generally, you're admitted because you've got sort of, you know, what do they call it, moderate symptoms. You know, you're not sort of at death's door and that sort of thing. So it's kind of,
and they've got the oxygen on you. So we're people, I mean, you're in a ward with other people. Were people worried? Were people anxious? What was the mood on the COVID?
I personally wasn't worried once I got into hospital. When I was at home experiencing all these really terrible symptoms, I was very worried, and I was very scared. And I've never been one to be a hypochondriac or, you know, oh gosh, you know, I need to go to hospital. That's not me. I'd rather be at home with my family, if, you know, but I just got to the point where I felt like I wasn't coping at home with my symptoms, and had seen how quickly I could go like that. And I thought, if that is to happen, and my husband phones 999 and there's no available ambulance, what am I going to do?
Wow.
You know, that really scared me.
That's awful. And
really
scared. Are you or your husband vaccinated at all?
My husband has had his first vaccination.
Right.
He hadn't gotten round to having his second as yet. I did have my vaccination appointment booked, but then I got a bit of a head cold, and you can't have it if you're a bit unwell. So I'd had to cancel it because they did it in kind of age increments going down. So I just got the thing to booked it, got a bit sick, cancelled it, and then before I'd had chance to rebook.
That your husband potentially recovered quicker because he'd had that one shot?
Yes, I think so, definitely, because he's a smoker. He coughs all the time, anyway, and he has asthma, more severe asthma than me. Sorry, what did you say?
I was going to say he's a smoker and he has asthma. Fabulous.
Yes, very clever. But see, I'm asthmatic, but very mild. I only have like Ventolin, which I barely used really. So potentially there is, you know, that for that reason he wasn't as sick.
So how hard or how easy is it to get vaccinations? We've got AstraZeneca out here that is fairly accessible. For people like myself in my age group, as well as with chronic health conditions, because, you know, I'm chronically unhealthy. We are for Pfizer, and I spend a lot of time every morning scouring the local clinics and healthcare centres and doctors' surgeries for a Pfizer jab, and for a good few months now I'm still on waiting lists.
Wow.
To do that. So what's it like for you guys in accessing the vaccine?
It's really, really easy. They constantly text me at the moment because I'm obviously eligible now because of my age group. So I get text messages all the time with a link attached to say, you know, book your vaccine, and there's places all over where you can go and book it and have an appointment. They also have started doing now like a walk-in service.
Right.
So you don't even have to make an appointment. You can just turn up, have the vaccine, and off you go. I even heard on the radio the other week during our heat wave that they had a vaccine bus that was going to be out and about in the Nottingham area in like sort of local parks and places where people would be out and about enjoying the weather, saying, you know, whilst you're out having your Sunday stroll, call into the vaccine bus and get your vaccination, you know. So it was really easy.
The big talk here is whether it's AstraZeneca, whether it's Pfizer. What vaccinations do you know are you being offered?
So there's AstraZeneca and Pfizer. I don't know whether or not you have a choice when you go, or whether, I know that they're not giving the AstraZeneca to over 60-year-olds. Because of the blood clot risk. But I don't know if, you know, if I just turned up for one of these appointments, would they just give me the AstraZeneca? Would I have to ask for the Pfizer? You know, I don't know. I don't know how that works, if I have the choice or.
And I wonder again, now that you've tested positive for COVID, does that change? Do you get bumped up the list to get your vaccination? I mean, what now that
no. Actually, I have to wait 4 weeks because I have already got the antibodies now. So after having had COVID, I'm actually one of the safest people you can be around because I can't catch it and I can't pass it on at the moment because I'm within that window. So yeah, I've got to wait. I'm sure it's 4 weeks, whether it's 4 weeks from testing positive, 4 weeks from after your isolation. I'm not exactly sure
what strain it was, whether it was the Delta strain or
no. When I got to the hospital, they came around with all these tests and things, and one of those tests was to do another 2 COVID tests on me. One was for the hospital records to confirm obviously that I had COVID, and the second one was to be sent off to a lab, which I'm assuming was to determine which strain of the vaccine of the virus that I had. So I did ask them, you know, will I get to find out now because I've had that sent off to this lab? Will I get to find out what strain I had? And they said no. It's purely for the statistics. To see what strain it is. I don't know whether or not there's any way to find that information out. Perhaps there is, but it's not general. It's not general practice for them to say, congratulations, you've got the Delta virus. You know, personally, I think that's what we did have because we both had a bit of diarrhea in there, which is one of the symptoms of this Delta variant. So, but then also there's nausea and sickness, which we didn't have. So, I mean, who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
And what you're saying is as well is that it affects people in such different ways.
Yeah, completely differently.
And for you, then, you know, whether your children had it or not, they didn't present symptoms. I mean,
no symptoms.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a friend who had COVID back in October, and she's only just getting her sense of smell back. I didn't lose my sense of taste. I lost my sense of smell briefly, but I had a very snotty nose, so I think it was more down to that. And my sense of smell and taste are perfect now.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah, I mean, she was my friend that still hasn't got her smell. She was quite mild, just stayed at home, bit of a cough, felt run down. I was hospitalised, and I can smell and taste everything.
Yeah,
you know, so you just don't know how it's gonna
attack them differently. Now, tell me, what's the follow-up now with the NHS with you? I mean, you're discharged. Is there follow-up? Is there a protocol that you've got to follow?
Yeah, so whilst I was in hospital, the clinical research team actually came to speak to me and offered me the chance to take part in their clinical trial that they're running for a new drug that they're using for patients, asthmatic patients post-COVID, which I took up the opportunity to do that. So I've just finished my 14-day course. It's a nebulizer that I had to use every day. And the research team actually phoned me every single day to check on my symptoms and how I was getting on with it. Yeah. They'll continue phoning me, I think, for another couple of weeks or so. Then I've got to go back to the hospital and attend a COVID clinic. Yeah, I think probably just to check me over. They obviously sent my discharge notes to my local GP, who contacted me, and I went for a little sort of review last Friday, which was kind of a week after I'd been discharged. And I've got to go back in another month to my GP for another review, sort of to check my asthma and things like that. So
goodness,
yeah, it's the follow-up's been
yeah,
quite good. Yeah, I've been
yeah. What a horrendous couple of weeks you've
had. I know. I
know.
feel like I've lost like a month of.
Well, you have.
Yeah.
And all of that while the weather is gorgeous. I mean, you know, we associate this kind of thing with, you know, winter. And we're in our winter, and there's some element where people are blaming, you know, it's going to get worse during our winter. But you know, that certainly hasn't been the case. This is a virus that is going to ravage us through everything.
It doesn't behave like a normal virus, really.
How do you think you caught this?
Oh, honestly, I've got no idea. People have asked me this a lot, you know, where do you think you got it from?
Coughed on you, Emily?
Sorry?
Who coughed on you, Emily?
I don't know. This is the thing. I can't remember anyone specifically coughing on me apart from my 3-year-old. She does more than just cough on me. You know, I get all the bodily fluids from her. So, yeah, I don't know. I could have, you know, touched something and then touched my face. I could have walked past somebody. For me and my husband, I say we both tested positive at the same time. Did he pick it up and give it to me? Did I pick it up and give it to him? Yes. You know, it's just one of life's mysteries. You know, I don't think I'll ever know. And again, where it came from.
This is why, Emily, I refuse to go out and do the food shopping just in case. So you
just never know. And it is really, you know, this has really shown me, because we always kind of joked sort of amongst the family that if we were to get COVID, it would be my husband that would be the really poorly one, because he smokes, because he's more asthmatic, because he coughs a lot anyway. We always thought, gosh, if he gets it, that will be it. You know, either the virus will kill him off or I will. Whilst in lockdown, because I've had enough of him. But then we got it, and he was sort of bit fluish, bit run down, couple of days, then back to normal. And there's me, you know, perfectly healthy all the time, very, very mild asthma, only 35, and I get hospitalized with it. It's just, it is really like a lottery. You just don't know how it's going to affect you. You know, what are the long-term effects going to be? I mean, when I got out of hospital, I was still quite concerned because I was still getting very breathless. You know, even just having a shower, I was completely exhausted, you know, but I mean, that's improved now, which I'm really glad about. But yeah, it's a very unpredictable, scary thing, and because it's so unknown, we just don't know how it's gonna pan out. You know, you've just got to be so careful.
So while you're recovering from COVID, you then experience Freedom Day, which happened last week.
Yes.
So you're cooped up and with the kiddies. You're still unwell from COVID, and Freedom Day knocks on your door and allows everyone out into the world. How do you feel about that, given that you've just come back from the COVID ward?
Well, I kind of felt a bit miffed. I thought, you know, like, we've had this going around for so long now, and I've heard so much about it, and the end is there in sight. There's light at the end of the tunnel, and I just get chucked back to the start. You know, I felt like my personal COVID journey was starting when everyone else's was finishing. So, but yeah, I was home from hospital then, and sort of venturing back out again. But I still do wear a mask, you know, in crowded places. I mean, a lot of people still do, in shops and things. A lot of shops have said, you know, although it's your personal choice, we still ask that you do wear your mask. You know, the school has said, dropping off and picking up the children, please still wear your mask. Obviously they can't really enforce it now, but they're asking, please, would you still? And a lot of people are. I'd say 90% of people
really
are.
That's nice.
Oh yeah, really. Because in the heat wave, I kind of thought, I don't need this now, it's so hot. And I went into the local supermarket and everyone was still, so I was like, okay then.
Still scared. I mean, it's out of
fear.
Yes,
I think so, yeah.
Tell me, with Freedom Day, I mean, we heard a lot of the press where that it wasn't welcomed by a lot of people. It was called Freedom Day.
So a lot of people.
General feeling there, that do you think you went too early to open up your restrictions?
I don't know. I mean, it was in the pipeline for a long time. It was planned. When initially it was supposed to happen, it then got postponed. I think it was supposed to happen in 21st of June or somewhere around there. Yes. And then it was postponed for a further 3 weeks. And everybody moaned when he postponed it for 3 weeks. Yes. And then when he's finally announced, yes, we're going to go ahead with it, everybody moaned again, because, you know, it's too soon. But I think everyone, they just moan, don't they? Oh, yeah. It's just a reason to moan, I think, isn't it? Yeah, so
absolutely. But now you're out in the crowds, you're out at Wimbledon, you're out at the football, you're having a wild time out and about and being let free, and hopefully you'll recover soon to be able to enjoy that freedom. At the potential cost of a lot of people getting sick, as sick as what you were, and up in the COVID ward, which is you know, it's virtually like the new leprosy clinics, isn't it?
Yeah, that's how I felt. I mean, we were sort of in a closed ward, and every time one of the staff came in, they had to mask up, like gowns, gloves, everything, come in to see to us, go out, chuck all their PPE in the bin, wash their hands. So every time they came in the room, it was this kind of thing. The pharmacist, actually, because she was in and out asking questions about my inhalers, in the end she just opened the door and shouted across the room, so she didn't have to gown up and you know, and mask up and go through all that rigmarole. So yeah, very surreal experience, I'll say that.
Yeah, well, look, I hope that you can vaccinate soon and and get jabbed, and hopefully they'll roll it out with the kiddies as well, so that we're all better protected, so you can enjoy this Freedom Day. And I'll let you get back to it because it's Friday night for you guys. So
Well, yes, Friday night, and I'm here
to
in my
Fred
pajamas.
in England. But as I leave you, can I just let you know so that you can be the Aussie cheerleader, and let you
Yes.
know that Australia is number 5 in the medal tally at the Olympics.
Oh,
How amazing are we?
very good.
England isn't in there, or the UK isn't in there in the top 5.
No,
We
I didn't.
we are there swimming away, you know, soccering away. We're having a fabulous time. So you can gloat away.
Amazing. I will. I'll remember that. Rub that in whenever I can.
Whenever you can. We are number 5, which is
Good.
amazing. And of course, Ash Barty and Dylan Alcott winning Wimbledon was just incredible.
Yes.
It was just a fabulous. How was the mood over in the UK, especially for our expats over there?
To be honest, that was kind of in the midst of my sort of illness, so I feel like I've missed so much stuff, you know.
Yes.
All my friends at the moment are going on about Love Island, because that returned to our screens this year, the UK version of Love Island, and everyone's raving about it and going, and I just haven't got a clue because I've missed the whole thing, being ill, and I just was, for the first sort of 10 days I was asleep, and yeah, and I was focusing on my breathing rather than
breathe.
whatever else was going on. Yeah, just
trying to breathe. It's a drug.
Just trying to breathe and not you know, fall down the stairs. And yeah, so I've missed a lot of I can't really comment on current affairs apart from COVID. I'm an expert at that.
You're an expert at that. Well, that's why I wanted to chat with you today. I won't ask you any questions about what's happening on Love Island. Look, I don't know what you're talking about with Love Island. I've got no idea. but I'm assuming that it's a lot of scantily clad, bronzed, gorgeous women.
I think there's a Love Island Australia. I'm sure there's an Australian.
I'm sure there is. I'm unfortunately with young kiddies. I'm still watching Thomas the Tank Engine morning, noon, and night. Yeah.
Yes, I do that. In fact, I find that even after they've fallen asleep or left the room, after 15 minutes, I think I'm still watching it. Well, and they're not even here.
Has the fat controller gotten off the mountain? I need to know. I need to keep up.
Yeah, get really invested in this. Yeah.
You do. Well, look, enjoy freedom in the UK. It's fabulous that you are back on your feet. I can't wait to hear that you have been vaccinated and the kiddies have been vaccinated, and hopefully that you are, you know, getting beyond this terrible experience of having COVID. I mean, in Australia, no one knows anyone who has had COVID.
That's it.
And you know, you're living proof that this can happen to anyone, anywhere, and it's a lottery.
It is, and I've heard so many people say, "Oh, it's not even real. It's just made up by the media to scare you. It's no different to the common cold." Well, I've had many colds in my time, and I can assure you, it is nothing like that.
Oh,
and I'm living proof that it's real.
And without scaremongering, as well, as we were chatting about before, you know, the glaciers are melting. We've got ancient bacteria and viruses that are millions of years old that are coming out and going to play havoc with humanity. So good luck to all of us.
Yes, we need it. We certainly do.
On that note, thank you so much, Emily. Enjoy your gloating about our Wimbledon wins and our top 5 in the Olympic medal tally. It's being Aussie in the UK at the moment, and especially now that you've recovered from COVID. So thank you so much for chatting to us again. And if we can pop in soon and see how freedom is going in the UK, and well, you know, how well that's going for your numbers and your statistics. And
yes.
if Australia can learn from that too, because a lot of people are, well, they're getting ready to protest right now, are lockdown. So it'll be interesting to see how you guys cope with it, so that we can look at modelling what to do or not what to do.
Yes, most definitely.
We'll chat with you soon.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That was the lovely Emily. She is an expat Aussie, all the way from Dungog in New South Wales, living in the UK. She's been there for 14 years. She's our UK correspondent. We love chatting with her. However, she did contract coronavirus, unsure of the variant, a couple of weeks ago, was hospitalised, and was sitting in the COVID ward there. She has now, well, she's recovering now and looking to be vaccinated. So fascinating story from Emily, and we'll knock on her door shortly and see how freedom is going in the UK and how that's affecting their numbers, and perhaps how that can rub off on Australia. So thanks for joining us today on Martini Mornings, only on Mood Food Radio. We can't wait to have a chat with you about more fascinating people and their stories. Take care.
Mooooooood Radio.com. Hosted by Martini Mornings.